Well, what can we say about this?
Looking messy.
This is an example of our best strategy, number one on the list. And to help you out, I'm going to reverse these premises so you can look at them in the different order. And the conclusion. This is something that you wouldn't do naturally, but I'm doing it because that's going to help you recognize one of the first 9 rules that this strongly resembles. And I say resemble because that first proof strategy on our list, it's never going to be exactly right. So 9 times out of 10, your successful completion of the proof requires that you say, with some manipulation, that would be which one of our first 9 rules? Huh? No, I'm saying the whole thing together is one of our first 9 argument forms. First 9. Are you saying association? Nope. First 9. Not these 10 of tonight. Hypothetical syllogism. That's not much of a stretch. Let's see. Hypothetical syllogism goes like this. Hey, that's good. Right? That's good. Now look at this. At least it's over there in the consequent position. It looks very much like hypothetical syllogism, doesn't it? What's different about it? See, when I mark it up like that, isn't it looking more and more like hypothetical syllogism? Okay, one of 2 things has to happen. We either have to alter or manipulate that premise right there or this one. So now, here's our strategy takes a turn. This is not a spot-on substitution for one of our replacement statements. But I think it is necessary that you identify it as a horseshoe of one of our 10 rules, and therefore subject to replacement by it. It's a horseshoe. We've got 3 rules that use horseshoes. 3 of them. So I'd like you to go through them and find out what this qualifies as. Is it
Exposition.
exposition? You mean like Basel?
Exportation, sorry.
Thank you. Exportation. So everybody verify that this counts. Sure, that counts. Q for P, R for Q, S horseshoe T for R. You're with me on that? Okay, so now we have 2 things going for us. We strongly suspect hypothetical syllogism. We're going to try to manipulate this premise to make it count. The whole thing count as hypothetical syllogism, because it doesn't right now. Okay, I'm telling you this is the proof, so go ahead and replace line 1 by exportation. Done? Who has it? Open parenthesis, Q, what? How about dot R? Close parenthesis. Yes? Horseshoe? What? Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a replacement of line 1 by exportation. And I think you'll see that we have our premises for hypothetical syllogism at this point. Do we? Where are they? What are they in the correct order? We're looking at here. 2, 3? Is that what we're using? 2, 3? Yeah, it could be wrong. What do you think? Is that correct? The next 3 are confidence builders. Yep, they're confidence builders. I think we've been through enough of our strategies. We've probably tried a little bit of each one. And these next few, they're going to use our strategies, and I'd say they're fairly easier than the last 2 we just did. So I'm not going to say much about these. Please don't just look at it. That never works. Do what we've been doing tonight. Go through our strategies. Help each other out, if you like. I think I should have been born in an earlier time. I think I should have been born in like 1956. Missing a few people tonight, huh? Should I intervene?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you what the proof is. I just want to point out the first thing you should recognize is that this looks an awful lot like one of our 9 rules, first 9 rules. Modus tollens, right? I mean, that's so close. That's no stretch. What's the only problem? The second premise of modus tollens has to be the negation of the consequent of the first premise. So all you have to do is find out, well, what is the negation of curl B? You say, what's the negation of curl B?
Go here. Yeah.
What's the negation of Q? What's the negation of curl B? Curl B. Right? Is that obtainable from V?
Yes.
How so?
It's one of the new rules.
Double negation.
There you go.
Let's do the one thing that changes everything. Let's start at the place with more number 1 choices than any other store. Bare Premium Plus Ultra Interior starts at $31.98 a gallon. Let's do this. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Are they playing a commercial over my harpsichord? Or is that somebody else? Is that somebody's phone?
No, it sounded like it was from the computer. I have a question.
Yes, we have a question. Go.
Rule number 3 from the new 10 you give us, the trans, that wouldn't work, right?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see.
I took that, but I'm stuck on what to do after.
You replace this by transposition?
Right.
Next step.
And I was trying to get our conclusion out of that by using, yeah, so I'd add an extra step.
Yeah, so it's the wrong proof. It'll work, but it's the wrong proof.
Ah.
He's going to transposition, double negation, modus ponens. Next one, confidence builder. Go through our strategies. this very closely resembles one of our first 9 rules. I think as we progress through these 2-step proofs, but definitely in the longer proofs, that first strategy is going to be more than 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. You've got to see this as resembling hypothetical syllogism. That's the key. If you can make that identification that looks kind of like that, I'm telling you, it almost always is the way to the proof. It's just a matter of manipulating what's wrong, in this case with hypothetical syllogism. What's wrong with it? And we manipulate that, its appearance, so that it is hypothetical syllogism. That first premise looks good. It's just that we need this as our second premise. We have this, we need that. That's no problem, is it?
Nope.
What do you want to do with line 2? And then we have our hypothetical syllogism ready to go. 1, 3? Next one's a confidence builder. Well, 10 is in the back of the book. That's definitely for you. This then would be number 11. I'm not skipping it. Yeah, 11. Oops, made a mistake already. This is so similar to the last one we did, both in strategy and actual proof. It's hardly fair. What do you suspect this resembles again? Yeah, it sure does. It's close enough. Find out what's wrong with it. Once we recognize that hypothetical syllogism, see, that first premise is, for all I can tell, there's nothing wrong with it. There seems to be more wrong with the second premise. Look, we have this, we need that. Everything else looks good. Right? There's our conclusion. For all we can tell, our first premise looks good. This is what we have in the second premise. That's what we need. So you should ask yourself, can I turn this into that? Anybody have it?
So it's the same thing as last one.
Does everybody understand? All you're trying to do is determine, can I turn this horseshoe into that horseshoe? So you look at our 3 rules of replacement that use horseshoes. You say, well, material implication is out, that's going to turn it into a wedge. You say exportation is out, that's not gonna, that doesn't qualify as an exportation statement. And that leaves you with transposition. So does that count as a transposition statement? Is this in fact what you would replace it with? Okay, it's true. Let me point out something again here about transposition. That last one we did, curl Y, horseshoe, curl X. See, this counts as a substitution of either one of these, right? But we counted it as a substitution of this. Remember? And so that's what we got from it. In this case, we have now that doesn't count as a substitution instance of this, does it? Only of that. So this transposition rule, like I pointed out earlier, there are some quirks or difficulties in recognizing what can I count as a substitution for either one of these. Yeah, it could be a little bit tricky. But we're counting this as a substitution instance for the only statement here it can be. And that's P horseshoe Q. So we're going to reverse these and negate both of them. Right? I think we have our premises for hypothetical syllogism. What are they? 1, 3? How far did we get in my last class? Not very much farther. Okay, I want to do a few more of these, then take a break, and I'll pack all this stuff up and we'll look at your test results, and I'll pitch my extra credit offer to you. If you want it, that's up to you. You can turn it down. If you're so inclined. It's pretty big. Does anybody remember what I said about a tribar occurring in the argument that we're proving valid? What did I say we're going to do with that tribar most often?
Always change it.
Yeah, because none of our initial 9 rules of inference specifically use a tribar. So most frequently when a tribar occurs, especially when it's not part of a larger statement, when it occurs in our argument, we're probably going to replace it with its dot or its wedge. The second thing I would notice if I were you is that both the second premise and the conclusion are obvious replacement statements. So I would find out what their replacement statements of. Then we have three things working in our favor. We've got the suspicion that this tri-bar is going to be replaced by its dot or its wedge. We've got the suspicion that this is going to be replaced by, and you find out what it is. We've also got the possibility that our conclusion is replacing something, because it's an obvious replacement statement. So you got three things to work with there. Work with. Harpsichords sound like they're electronic. Weird. Are you doing something? We've got three things to get on with. I think as soon as you look at, now that tri-bar can be replaced by two different statements. I think you need to have a look at both of them. One of them, I think, should complete the proof for you. I mean, there's one in particular that if you look at it, and that second premise, and the conclusion, I think you'll see what the last step of our proof is. Does anybody have this proof yet? So, which replacement statement do you think we ought to have a look at? The dot of two horseshoes or the wedge of two dots? The wedge of two dots. Let's have a look at it. Hey, look at that. We have our conclusion on the right-hand side of a wedge. We should all be thinking disjunctive syllogism.
The Battle of Trent.
Right?
Favorite historical villages. Dedicated to general life.
Never makes history. Do we have the needed second premise for our hypothetical syllogism? We need the negation of this. Agreed? Do we have it? There it is, right there. Right? It's amazing. Make sure you get rid of those parentheses. 3, 2.
Beyond the ocean.
Oops. Yeah, that's right. But I forgot my notation up here. 1. Material equivalence. All right, we get the hang of it. Yep.
Yeah.
One more, maybe two more. Can't, I don't know, 3-hour class in formal logic. Could be a bit taxing. 13, confidence builder. This guy's just racking them up, making us feel good. I think 13 and 14 is as far as I got in today's earlier class.
In
So
your good class?
let's get caught up with them.
And you're
Let's-
18? On your 18?
How do you know that?
With your 18? You told us.
I told you. Yeah, but you know what? You guys did to me this test the same thing you did last time. You don't respond in class, and I think you're not getting it, and I get frustrated. And then you did real well on the test again. I think just like you did on test 2. I mean, not everybody did, but a lot of people did. I don't know. When you don't answer my questions, I think you're not getting it. But I'm on to you now. That's okay.
Huh? Can we do this one?
13, right?
Yeah. Similar.
The American Army crosses the Delaware.
Maybe it's just a tag.
It's a strategy that we've used. Not only a strategy we've used, it's our most favored strategy. It also happens to be a proof that's very similar to one we've done probably 4 times tonight. All rise. I think this is a 2 Monty Python parody in the meaning of life, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think I can sing. I mean, I don't think I should sing.
That's
This reminds me of when I was a good little boy. Going to church on Sunday. And I stopped and things went downhill from there. You lose the fear of God, all bets are off. Fear of God is a good thing. Two things. What does that whole thing look like? Hypothetical syllogism. See that number 2 right there? That's a replacement statement, an obvious replacement statement. Of what rule? Exportation. So you got 2 things to go to work with. You're thinking this whole thing looks a heck of a lot like hypothetical syllogism. You're saying line 2, hey, that's an exportation statement. Well, replace it. See what it looks like. Do it off to the side if you want. Anytime you have those obvious replacement statements, have a look at them.